Right, let's do this. Hello everyone, it's me. Dram A is back, and it almost seems to be in a relatively quick turnaround since my last video. So I still have 4 of these mystery drams from good friend Andrew A.P. Butler to go through. So before I start doing any other videos like the Project 500, which I hope to do, or a few ranges of some of this stuff that I've got behind me, the likes of maybe Bladnock, Paul John, Ben Romack, do an entire range, that sort of stuff, all sorts of, you know, good interesting videos, hopefully interesting. I've still got 4 of the 12 that Andrew sent me after the challenge several months ago now, so it's time to crack on with them and get them done. So random one is selected. Again, if this is the first time you're coming across these, after I finished the challenge, after I went through 366, Andrew came to the finale, the live final that I did in York, and presented me with a pack of 12 miniature bottles that he has taped up, and he's got a label on which has got them on, but I need to peel it off to actually see what it is. So I'm going into these completely blind. Some of these I have been not too bad on, actually. You know, I've been pretty close, which has been quite pleasing, and I've tried not to be very smug about it, but you can't really help yourself when you sometimes get it quite close. Other times I've been way off, and I was doing the first few of these mystery drams not long after I'd done the challenge, so I've been doing every day or every other day a whiskey tasting in essence. So arguably my senses were, it sounds so poncy saying this, my senses were attuned to tasting, but it was kind of like I was used to tasting things, and I had reference points relatively recently to be able to go, right, it's a little bit smokier than that, it's a bit richer, it's that sort of thing. I've not been tasting whiskey as often as I would have liked, and as much as I was, so there is a, I'm not using it as an excuse, but there is you could potentially say that actually my tasting senses, abilities, like I'm a bloody, you know, it's a gift, could be somewhat kind of diluted, dulled, that sort of thing, not quite as on par, as on point even, as they would have been had I been doing this closer to the challenge, because I was tasting every day. But we'll see how we go. So mystery dram number 9, I think. So color wise, now I don't have a white background or plain background like I did with my in my kitchen. I'm going to see if I can reach the bit of paper that I've got over there without, oh god, there we go. Okay, so I do have a bit of paper, so that is doing nothing. That might not, that might help, that might not, I don't know, who knows. But from what I can see, if I put it over here, I've got a sort of a white background over here. It's a pretty dark burnt orange, almost, you know, getting to ochre colour. So there's a really nice colour on it. It could be colouring added, so we don't really know just yet, but it's a nice deep dark colour. Ooh, now on the nose, initial impression straight away, American bourbon, something like that. A real fruitcakey vanilla, and it's not the, and I've talked about this previously, where bourbon to me has a very rich dark fruitcake, very Christmas cakey element, whereas sherry wood to me becomes more sultana fruitiness. It's a slightly lighter fruitiness than I tend to get with bourbon, but there is this vanilla character in there, and there's like muscovado sugar. I could say brown sugar, but muscovado sounds more impressive, so I shall use muscovado. But it's not really brown sugar. You know when you get, you're in a coffee shop, Starbucks, Costa, that sort of thing, and you get your packets of brown sugar, it's quite a light brown sugar. This is that darker, thicker, almost moister brown sugar that you tend to use with cooking. And it's that element. It's not particularly, it doesn't nose particularly strong, so I'm going to say this isn't cask strength. I'm going to say 43%, something like that. It's not particularly fiery on the nose. You could almost say it's 40%, but I don't think it is. I think it's slightly stronger. 43, maybe 46 at a push. This is screaming out American, and this is screaming out bourbon. This to me is something like a sort of a not a particularly high rye bourbon either. I'm going to get me phone out so that I can, once I know what it is, I can quickly get it up and see. Well, get it up. Excuse me. I can quickly look it up and see what we've got. But everything about this is saying bourbon, and almost the type of bourbon that I like, where it's that sweeter, richer bourbon rather than a high rye content where it tends to be a bit drier and a bit rougher. There is a bit of spiciness on it, which suggests that there's some rye. If it's bourbon, this could be Scotch, and I could be way off track. I'm sending myself completely down a cul-de-sac here, where I'm saying, I think this is bourbon. I really do think this is bourbon. It's that classic vanilla, almost butterscotchy character, dark brown sugar, rich dark fruits. It really doesn't. It doesn't say sherry cask. It's not fruity enough to be something like a port cask or a wine cask. It really is. It's absolutely screaming American whiskey at the very least, and more so bourbon. Really is screaming bourbon. So I'm going to go. It's got a rye in it, but I would say probably 10 to 15%, that sort of thing. When I find out what this is, if I can, I'll see what the mash bill is, but that might be harder. But it's very much my style of bourbon. It's that lovely, rich fruitiness. It's not quite Angel's Envy, because Angel's Envy has got that extra sort of forest of the fruit of the forest element that's from the port casks that they finished it in. This is classically bourbon. It's a real. If this is not bourbon, I'm going to look like such an idiot, because this to me is really good classic bourbon characteristics: vanilla, dark fruits, fruitiness, smoothness, a little bit of heat. I'm erring to more towards 46% with that warmth that's on the back of my throat. But this could be quite aged though. There is a depth to it that could be sort of a, like a 15-year-old bourbon, because bourbon tends not to age particularly long because of the humidity, because of depending on where it's made, but generally because of the climate that there is, it tends not to age particularly well, and that's why you tend to get things like 21-year-old bourbon at ridiculous prices, and then you put Van Winkle on the label, and then you can quadruple that price. But you tend not to get very old. You tend not to get old bourbons. It tends to be more kind of 8 to 10-year-old or a no age statement. This has some kind of feel of quality and depth about it that suggests it might be kind of like a 15-year-old, that sort of thing. It's really, really nice. So this is either an aged bourbon. I'm really going down with bourbon. This is either an aged bourbon that could be on the pricey side, because Andrew already has sent me in some of these mystery jams some pretty expensive stuff. So this could be something daft like a Van Winkle. I did have a 15-year-old Van Winkle in the challenge that I can remember I wasn't overly enamored with, and this doesn't remind me of it. That was a while back, but I remember being not too impressed with the Van Winkle, whereas this I love. This I really, really like. So it's either going to be something like, maybe not, I don't know, no, Rittenhouse is rye, something, I don't know, because like the Buffalo Trace, the antique collections, they all seem to be intense and spicy, and I've got hang now, and very rye heavy and dry and full on. And this is so, this is almost like it's a bourbon that I wouldn't have expected at an age, or it's one that's like a non-age statement, but it's just really good value for money. It's got a bit more depth than Buffalo Trace. I don't think it's Angel Envy. It's possible I didn't have it in the challenge. It could be, I mean, he did say he's put some in there that I've had before, so it could be something like Elmer T. Lee, or Weller, or something along those lines, where it was sort of $30–40 in America, but was like really, really well made bourbon. If it's not bourbon, I am going to look like such an idiot. So let's see. I'm not adding any water to it. I got the water just in case, but it absolutely doesn't need it. I don't think this is cask strength. I think this is 46%. So let's see where we are. Oh, well, this is a new one. So I've not had this in the challenge, so I can add this to my 15-year-old. 15-year-old, my 15. What am I talking about? I've not even had a shot, and I'm talking nonsense. I'm only doing one tonight as well. I need to take the dog for a walk, and it is chucking it down. I'm not looking forward to that. So this is, not sure if you'll be able to see it because the light is a bit bright. West of Kentucky, bourbon number 3. So what happened to the number 1 and number 2? I've never heard of this. Absolutely never heard of this. I'm assuming it's located in a place called, that's west of Kentucky. West of Kentucky. So this see, I'm putting this into Google and the auto fill is coming up, but it's saying West of Kentucky bourbon number 1 and bourbon number 2, but not bourbon number 3. So West of Kentucky, Sonoma County Distilling. Interesting. Okay, never ever heard of this one at all. So it's Sonoma County Distilling, West of Kentucky bourbon number 3, high rye mash bill. Well, I got that wrong, didn't I? So this is what the bottle looks like. I've never seen it in America. I am looking at binnies.com, which is a online, I think they've got stores in America as well. I can't remember where they're based. They are selling it for $49.99. Let's just have a look at Sonoma County Distilling. Available for a limited time every year through a series of formulate releases, we use traditional techniques for our West of Kentucky bourbon whiskey, number 1, number 2, and 3 recipes to reimagine what a bourbon can be. So number 1 features the aromatic notes of California cherrywood smoked malted barley. The number 2 is more of a wheated style, interesting, and number 3 is a definite nod to high rye bourbon whiskey. Interesting, because I didn't think there was that much rye in it. So this high rye style of bourbon showcases unmalted corn from the Midwest, Canadian rye, and malted barley from Wyoming. Aged in new charred American oak for no less than 1 year and blended with whiskies up to 2 years. Wow. Full-bodied blend offers hints of baking spices. Yeah, I'd go with that. Sawdust, no, and vanilla bean gelato. There is vanilla. Gelato's a little bit OTT. This is California's bourbon whiskey, and cask strength is now available. So it's California, Sonoma County. I've never heard of Sonoma County Distilling as well. Let's have a look. Whiskey Shop USA are, oh, what's this? This is looks to be a British company because they are doing it in pounds. Bit confused. WhiskeyShopUSA.com have the prices in pounds, but they seem to be based in America because apparently they're selling it for £42.39, which seems ridiculously cheap if that was in the UK. I've never seen it before. $50. So I think that's I think the previous Blackwell's wines are selling it for $50. For $50 for what sounds to be a small batch bourbon, that is really good. Next time I'm out in America, which luckily isn't that long, I might keep an eye out for that because I'd never have picked that for high rye, but that is ticking all my boxes as a bourbon fan. It's smooth, it's rich, it's got that sweetness, it's got that caramelly effect. Yeah, that ticks so many boxes for me as a bourbon. I never would have called that high rye at all. It doesn't have the sharpness, the sourdough feel that high rye I pick up from high rye bourbon. So I don't know, I couldn't see what the mash bill was, but it depends on what their definition of high rye is, because obviously it has to be 51% corn, but you know, I wouldn't have said that's 51% corn, 49% rye. They say there's barley in there as well, so yeah, maybe 20-25% rye, but that's fantastic. That's up there with Elmer T. Lee and Angel's Envy and Buffalo Trace for favourite bourbons. I really, really like this. I think this is absolutely lovely. That has warmed me up nicely for taking the dog out for a walk, because it is absolutely pissing it down outside. So I will feel a bit better for doing that. Andrew, thank you very, very much for that. That's really, really interesting. I will include that in Project 500 and do a separate little video with a little bit of information about Sonoma County Distilling, because I never even heard of them. So every day's a school day, and hopefully I'll have some time to be able to get through the other 3 mystery jams. But I'm glad I got close to a bourbon. It's 46%, so I was pretty much bang on there. So yeah, like that a lot. So if you're watching in America and you know where to find that, definitely check it out. I think that's a fair price for that bourbon. But if you're in the UK, if you can find it, do let me know, because I'd be very interested to see. Although my guess would be it's probably going to be about 80 quid. But that's some good stuff. West of Kentucky bourbon number 3. do try and find it if you can. Right, that's me done. I shall see you at the next one. Cheers.